Morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our new webinar series for the year. Happy New Year! It's 2020, and we're going to be designing a lot of stuff this year. So thank you for joining us. My name is Utilise. I'm the BIM technical specialist here at mining and infrastructure at Baker Benz, and today we're going to be looking at Cul De Sac design. It's something that a lot of people hit a dead end with, but today we're going to show you how to get through that. So let's look at our actual agenda for today. So today's session, we're just going to give you a quick intro on who we are as Baker Benz. So a quick intro, of course, who we are, what we do, and then of course we're going to jump into the actual meat of the presentation, which is how to design a cul-de-sac. I'm going to give you a tiny history lessons because I think we all know what a cul-de-sac is, but we all not accustomed to knowing where the origin of the cul-de-sac came from. So a bit of history on that part. Then we're going to look at Civil 3D, like why should we use Civil 3D, like really, why this tool? And you're going to see how awesome it is actually to use. Then after we're going to jump into a quick demonstration. As always, you're going to see a step-by-step by me, so it helps you, my fellow designers, to follow suit and also model things successfully, right? And then of course we're going to conclude. Okay, so let's get into who we are as Baker Benz. As you can see, what we live by is we help you design and make a better world. And that's more or less our objective, our aim as a provider, consulting services. And this is in a nutshell who we are. These are the segments that we actually specify in or specialize in. And as you can see, we partner with a lot of brands, Autodesk, of course. We are a service provider select, which is a really niche market. So we are very glad to be a part of that. And of course, we partner with a lot of other brands such as Topcon, Leica, IDIS, which is a brilliant tool if you're a civil engineer in the water space and you're doing sewer reticulations, water, bulk retics, those type of things. It's the tool to go to. We've got Adobe also, which is a structural detailing tool that works in AutoCAD. And I think the best thing here for design is the actual CAD learning. If you haven't heard of CAD learning, it's an online platform with a ton of Autodesk software that you could learn, whether it's Civil 3D, Revit, InfraWorks, Recap, those type of things. It's a go-to tool, especially if you're a millennial like myself. We like learning at our own pace and when we need to, and this is the perfect tool. If you want to have more info on this, our contact details will be at the end. But for now, this is us in a nutshell. In terms of the segments that we actually specialize in, these are the core segments, starting with build, so anything going upwards, vertical construction as it's called today, civil engineering, which is my segment as well, so roads, transportation, bridges, that type of thing, energy, process plants, manufacturing. As we know, manufacturing and civil are very closely interrelated. And just a sneak peek for the next webinar, we're actually going to be looking at that, right? So we're going to be doing that. And of course, mining is a big segment in terms of our economy as a whole. Okay, then a little bit more about our brands. So these are the flagships that we are behind. Of course, Autodesk, you all know Autodesk. If you are a designer and you haven't heard of it, we really need to chat because I don't know how you're doing your design otherwise, but Autodesk is the leader in terms of design tools, in whether you're in civil infrastructure, architecture, engineering, construction. These are the tools that the designers use to actually develop our designs. And then, of course, we've got Leica. So we've got the BLK 360. If you're not sure what it is, that's exactly how it looks. It's a little small gadget that helps you to capture your 3D environment by generating point clouds. So you put it in an environment, it does a 360 scan with photo imagery attached, and then after you will get a model that you can actually bring in, a point cloud model, and then from there you can actually model it using your CAD tools such as Revit, Civil 3D, Inventor, and so on. And then if you're going more on the construction side, so more mining, more civil infrastructure, proper site work, we've got the Topcon GLS 2000. This is a really awesome product, very rugged, and it's used for a lot of mining and civil applications in day-to-day works, right? And then, of course, like I said, CAD learning, brilliant tool. You log in online, you learn at your own pace, whether it be whichever specialization you belong to, and you can actually get things done quicker, faster, and smarter. Okay, and then just the last one to wrap up our intro. Okay, we base everything on what we call as our I adopt. It's our own personalized consulting methodology, and we help you to adopt the technology better. So a lot of people buy tools, but you don't know how to use them, and this is where we come in to get you from A to Z much more quicker, better, and more streamlined. So we help you adopt the technology, we educate you, we assist your processes, and we do a lot of other things that help you to design and make a better work. So this is more or less us in a nutshell. I'm not going to dive into the actual segments, but just to know that we are there to actually help you on your design journey and digital transformation. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the meat of things right now. So we're going to get into the actual topic at hand, which is a cul-de-sac. And what is a cul-de-sac exactly? Okay, so a cul-de-sac, first of all, it originated in Egypt, believe it or not. If you did not know, it's a fun fact for Friday. Whether you'll use it, I have no idea, but it's a good way to get a perspective on where things actually originate from. So it's from a city in Egypt. I think it's pronounced Al-Lahn. If you speak Arabic, hit me up after this just to give me a quick pronunciation tip there. But as you can see on your right hand side, it was a workers' village that actually controlled access and made things much more better in terms of their stringent policies. Um, so it's better access control because there's one way in, one way out. It's less traffic, it's controlled, and it serves as a lot of, I would say, a backdrop or critical infrastructure in any development, be it a campus block, residential development, parking lots. It's always a critical aspect of infrastructure. So if you don't know or you did not know where it originated from, now you definitely know. Okay, so that's where cul-de-sac comes from. And you can see on the screen, there's certain places that are clearly demarked as actual cul-de-sacs, for example, maybe there, 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 and so on. So there's a lot of planning that went into it, and till today, in modern times, we actually are using it. Okay, so Autodesk Civil 3D. Why? Why do we need Autodesk Civil 3D? If you are an avid webinar subscriber of ours, you should know that I always give an introduction in terms of the actual product and why we use it, especially for those that are newly joining us. First of all, it's an awesome civil tool. You can do 2D drafting, you can do 3D, you can do earthworks, quantities, road design, and also there's a big GIS applications in it. So with the new integration with Autodesk and Esri, you can actually link in your ArcGIS online account, bring in your actual services that you might have there, and import it into your model. So it's a really intelligent design. It's interoperable with the main tools, authoring tools, so Revit, Inventor, InfraWorks, whatever your flavor is, and is also part of the AEC collection and is a crucial part of the actual BIM workflow. So if you're not familiar with this, it's also part of the architecture, engineering, and construction collection. If you don't know what this is, it's a bundle of tools that Autodesk have put together for civil infrastructure designers. So these are the tools that you would use normally in terms of your everyday applications, everyday design. It's well-rounded, well-balanced, and helps you achieve basically all of your design intents. So it's a really good tool. It includes all of those products. But today, we're going to be just using the Civil 3D portion of it. And you're going to see how much simpler it is actually for modeling. I just put the snapshot, so I'm not going to go through it in detail, but these are just some of the key aspects that actually stand out with me for Civil 3D, the things you can do, the functionality that's built in. And today, of course, we're going to look at the cul-de-sac part of it, right? So that's where we are heading. Okay, so enough with the intro. I hope you got an idea who we are, what we do, and what we are using today. And now we can actually jump into the actual demonstration so you can actually see how we do things. So what I've done is I've stepped it. I think this one it's in 3 steps, if I'm not mistaken. And you actually can follow this and apply it into your own design processes. Okay, so let's get in here. The first step, you would need to actually define the cul-de-sac geometry using the alignment tools. So a lot of users during my interactions with them, they have a problem actually generating one combined alignment to highlight the actual bulb, which is a normal shape for a cul-de-sac, unless you're going to a bowling club where it's more rectangular, but the process is exactly the same. The methodology is exactly the same. And we're going to look at how you would use the alignment tools in Civil 3D to actually generate the geometry of the actual cul-de-sac. So let's jump in here. So as you can see in my drawing, we've got the road. I've got Jennifer Close and the Witcher Avenue. If you know about the Witcher series, I think you should pick up on the reference there. So here we are. That's the road we're going to be using. Okay, so that's Jennifer Close. We've got a long section with the vertical profile, and we've got two assembly cross sections that we've generated. We'll get back to this later on, but one is for the cul-de-sac and one is for the actual road itself. So Jennifer Close. Or Jennifer rather. And then as you can see here on the on the left hand side rather, we've got all of our details listed in our prospector. And what I've done is I've created two offset lines. These are normal polylines for the lane widths, normal AutoCAD. That's going to guide us to do the actual alignment. So let's get into the alignment part of things. You can see I'm going to call it a CDS for short, so cul-de-sac. And we're going to use a curb return actual style. You're going to see the benefits of this. Description is optional, so I'm just going to put CDS. The type of style you use is not really pertinent here. Whatever's your flavor. And then from there, we're going to actually go into the alignment tools. So the first thing that we're going to actually be doing is the actual fixed line, right? So we're going to trace the actual offset lines. All right. And then remember the direction is very important here. So we're actually moving in a clockwise direction. Okay, as you can see from left to right and then from right to left, that's going to be a very, very critical part of the actual thing, right? So once we've got the arms of the actual cul-de-sac, we are going to go generate the actual bulb itself. So I did not plan it to be 666. Please don't get on me here. But we're going to select the center. Of course, the direction, again, we were moving in clockwise. If you look at here at the bottom, it's going from left to right and right to left. So clockwise, we select clockwise at the bottom. You can give it a radius. I'm going to go with 15 here. And as you can see, the bulb has actually been generated. Okay. So remember, this is still one connected alignment. The next thing we can actually be doing is to create a fillet between the actual straight lines and the bulb. So we're going to link this. The distance doesn't matter. Okay. So we're going to select the alignments in going in the direction. It's going to be less than 180 and it's going to be a reverse curve. Once we go there, we can actually put in a radius. I'm going to use 15 again. And as you can see, it has been generated. So you can see that. And we're going to do the same thing for the right-hand side of the cul-de-sac. So we're going to select the alignments, we're going to fillet it, and then from there, we are actually going to be joining it. So here we are. You can see the direction is moving in a clockwise manner, and it's getting generated as we'd like it to be. Right? Those polylines, you can actually delete them. We don't need them anymore. And we're left with a good-looking alignment. And of course, we're going to link it to our actual corridor. If you'd like, you could actually just drag the actual corridor to where you need it to be, right? So let's maybe just snap it there. It'll just take a little time to generate. And here we are. So that's more or less what we're looking at. You can go and edit this if you want to make it shorter, longer, and so on later. But for now, we're going to just use this as it is, right? And then, of course, the alignment style. If you forget which way you're going, you can actually switch on the direction arrows and it shows you the clockwise direction in it. So that's how simple it is actually to generate an alignment for a cul-de-sac using Civil 3D. You can see it's much more easier, much more streamlined, and it's a nice flowing shape that you would need to actually link to your actual road. So yeah, just a few tools that you would need to incorporate using Civil 3D, and then from there, you can actually link it to your road corridor, okay? So we've got the alignment now that's actually linking to where we need it to be in terms of the actual corridor. And you could either drag this more further up if you needed to, right? So you can actually stretch the corridor if needed be. If not, you could just leave it there for now, and you can actually sort it out with the final corridor baseline, which we're going to get to just now, right? But I know a lot of designers like to get things done quicker, so we dragged it much more closer where we need. And then from there, we can actually be tying in this to the levels on the left and the right hand side of the actual corridor. Okay, so that's just the alignment done and dusted. Simple, straightforward. Again, methodology is key. Okay, so now that you have the actual horizontal alignment, all right, but what we're going to do now is the actual linking. So elevation is very, very, very important in terms of tying in stuff, okay? But I'm going to show you an easy way using the Civil 3D tools, how you can actually link it to the correct level. So let's get into that. All right, so we've got the alignment done. Now we need the elevation on either side of the road. If it's a 2% fall, for example, on either side, the elevation on the left-hand side and the right-hand side for the edge of travel way is definitely going to be the same because the slope is the same. So I'm just going to be doing, showing you how you can use the annotate tools to actually get the elevation at that point. Remember, you need your top surface for your corridor for this, otherwise it's not going to be sampling correctly. And as you can see, it's given us the actual elevation. Okay, so the elevation for that point is 187.87. So that's where the alignments on either side need to tie in. So now you've got a guide. The next thing you're going to actually need is the actual station. So again, we're going to use the station labels style for the alignment. You can see there's different types. You can use offset, whatever you would achieve your objective. If you use offset and you want the exact position, just leave your offset to 0, and that should be fine. So now that we selected that point, you can see it's given us the station number. Okay, so as you can see, that's a station number. That's the easting, northing, so your X and Y. And you can also do it on the other side as well. So you've got the station numbers on either side. The reason why this is important is we're going to use it on the actual long section to use the transparent tools in Civil 3D to actually plot that to the correct elevation so that your corridor for your road links in perfectly to your actual cul-de-sac design. So that's in essence what we're trying to do. So we've got 10, right? And then we've got 116.28 on the right-hand side. And now you're going to see when we go to the long section, how we're going to incorporate this information to actually help us tie it in to what we need, right? So let's just do a long section or surface profile for the actual cul-de-sac. Again, you can give it whatever you want to name it, whatever style you need, doesn't really matter. I'm going to drop it right here, okay? So at least we can see it close to what we're doing. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to toggle off the surface so it doesn't get in the way of you actually seeing what I'm going to be doing. All right, so that's the surface profile along the cul-de-sac, okay? And now we're going to use those stations that we actually generated to get us tied in correctly. So let's bring it a bit closer. It looks a bit messy, but it'll be easier for you guys to actually follow on your side. Okay, so let's just maybe position this a little bit down. Okay, now we can actually use those start and end elevations and stations that we've got on the long section. And how we do that is we're going to use the cul-de-sac again as a guide because that's going to be our alignment reference points, so the elevations and that. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the annotates and we're going to drop in some station elevations on the actual profile view. So we've got 10 there, right? So specify station, as you can see in the command line. You just type it in, simple as that. Okay, and then you're going to give it the elevation. So elevation was 187.87. So let's just type that in. All right, and you've got a reference point. And the same you're going to do on the ends chainage. So you've got 116.28. Yeah, that's the one. So we're just going to type that in quickly. 28, and this elevation for that point is also going to be 187.87. So let's put that in. Okay, and we hit enter. And as you can see now, we've got the exact tie-in points for the cul-de-sac. Okay, so you know for sure that it's going to be linking into your roadway as you're going along in time. And we're going to actually tie in the vertical geometry to this actual elevation point. Okay, so now that we've got the elevation points done and dusted, we are going to actually draw in the vertical profile. Okay, if you want, you can toggle on your specified range. So an easy way to do this is to make it match the elevation points that you've actually put in, so the station points rather. So 116.28 should be my finish line because that's what I'm interested in, and I click OK. And as you can see, it snaps into the grids. So again, it's working smarter, okay? The tools are there, we just have to apply them in the correct way. Now that we've adjusted that, you can go make the grid smaller or whatever customization you need, but it's not needed at this stage. We're gonna do the alignment. So it's a vertical alignment for the CDS, so Cul De Sac. All right, and then we're gonna click OK, and we're just gonna plot in our curves, right? So of course you'll have different design criteria. If you have a culvert at a certain point, then you need to be mindful of that, the elevation and so on. But for now, I'm just going to drop in a curve that I think will be okay, as long as it's tying into the start and end point of the actual cul-de-sac elevation versus the road corridor. Okay, so now that we've got that, we can adjust it if we want to. If you want to make it lower, we want to make it higher in terms of your cut and fill or your drainage design. Okay, and as you can see, it ties in correctly to there. Okay, and now that we know our vertical alignment is linked in, it's going to make things much more easier when it comes to the actual targeting. So that's how easy it is. It is a bit of a process to get used to, but once you apply it correctly, you're going to be fine. Okay, so the trickiest part of the actual webinar is the corridor. Everyone normally gets confused in terms of the targeting, okay, and the frequency, and this is what we're going to go through right now. So what we've done so far is we've done the horizontal alignment using the tools in Civil 3D. From there, we found the elevation and station point from start to finish for the cul-de-sac, and then we plotted that on our long section. And then from there, we actually took the vertical profile and tied it in to those points. So that's our methodology so far. And then, of course, the last part is this actual modeling the cul-de-sac. So let's get into it for the corridor. Okay, so this is where we were. All right. What we're going to do now is I'm just going to move this one side because we don't need it. And we're going to focus on this. Right, so we've got the Jennifer close on the left, and then of course we've got the cul-de-sac for Jennifer close. I'm just going to move this closer to the actual alignment so that you can actually reference it much better. Okay, and that red line is going to be the center line that's representing the actual horizontal alignment. So the curve is going to be on the left-hand side because we're going in a clockwise direction. So it makes you understand better how I've got that cross section. So I've got a curve, I've got a half lane, and then that center line that sits on it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the existing corridor, right, for Jennifer close, and then we're going to go to the parameters, and we're going to add a baseline. So what the baseline does, it gives us a section in the same corridor, so you have one combined corridor, and we're going to select the vertical alignment for the cul-de-sac, which we just set. Okay, and then we're going to add a region. Now, as you can see on the right-hand side, that red is extending into the actual corridor. We don't want that. So we're going to give it a starting chainage, which is what we remembered. If you forget, you can always go and click on there and select it in your actual model. So we're going to go to where we want it to end, that 116.28, if I remember correctly. If you don't get it, right? You can always just type it back. So let's just type it in. Okay, and then we're going to set the frequencies to maybe a meter. It's going to give us a much more smoother shape in terms of visualization. Okay, so we just adjust that, and now we go to the bit of the confusing part, which is the targeting. Okay, so let's go and see how we do this. Right. So target mapping is we're going to want it to follow a certain alignment. The first one is going to be referencing the exact the natural ground level, and for the width, it's going to be following Jennifer close because that's the actual road alignment that it's linked to. And of course, the outside elevation. This is again what we're going to need it to be linked to, right? And we're going to be linked to the actual road because we want it to maintain that camber and correct elevation. We select that, click OK, rebuild the corridor. It'll take a little while depending on what you got running. And here we are, right? So as you can see, it's a much more smoother shape. You can see it ties in perfectly to the actual center point, and the alignment and the assembly is correct. If it does not look something like this, then you know that either your targeting was off or your assembly that you chose, there's something up with that. So it's always good to visualize it, all right? You can see it's much more better. Your styles will be different. Mine is green, depending on what country kit or what style custom you have on your template. That's what's going to be left. And also, if you'd like to drive through it, you can always use the normal drive-through function, snap it to the actual curb line and go around your cul-de-sac. If you want to look at it in the object viewer in terms of how the surface looks, let's just pan here a bit. As you know, the object viewer, sometimes when you have a long road, it's a bit of a mission to pan. So that's what's happening here. But if you look at what we're having, you can see it's graded perfectly, right? I wanted the banks to smoothen out. Of course, you can target it to existing ground, which will be better. And then you can see the shape, and that's also the surface, right? So you can see it ties in perfectly on the center line. If you look at the shape of it, it's all tied in correctly. The triangulation links in perfectly to the actual Yennefer Close road corridor. Yeah, that's literally what you need to do, right? So that's how you would actually generate a cul-de-sac in those 3 simple steps. Okay, so I think that's for my demo for today. So let's wrap things up and see how we will actually get to the steps. So just a brief recap in terms of what we did here today. Okay, so I hope that was informative. All right, it's a bit of a process. This year I'm going a bit more advanced on my webinars. So if you're not that fluent in Civil 3D and the other applications I'm going to be showing this year, our YouTube channel has all of them. So you can start from scratch and get well versed in the software. But just for today, this is exactly what we did. We first created the actual alignment, right? We used the fixed line method, the fixed curve with a radius, and then of course we filleted it. So we got that nice bulb shape. Once we did that, we got the horizontal and vertical profiles. Again, you'll use your annotation tools to label the actual elevations and stations that you would need, and then tie it in very nicely. And then from there, you will use your cross sections like you're seeing here, and do your mapping targets using Civil 3D to get your desired corridor and end up with something like that. So hopefully this doesn't leave you with a dead end, right? There is always a way through it. 2020, we're breaking through all of those dead ends and we're getting through them. So yeah, I think we're almost at a wrap here. So again, if you want to reach us online, Baker Bains, if you want to follow us, these are all our handles. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then of course YouTube. You can just simply Google us or just type it in like we always do and it will pop up. You can't miss us. Really cool content. We're very interactive, very social. So yeah, reach out to us, follow us, and then you can learn together. And then of course, if you want to reach out to me, I'm very, very open in talking to professionals in the same industry. So if you want to connect, let's do it, right? This is me, anything civil infrastructure design, you can reach out. My core products are Civil 3D, InfraWorks, Recap, vehicle tracking, AutoCAD, BIM 360. And then I've got secondary products like Advanced Steel, Revit, Robot Structures, and Navisworks. So you can see I'm more or less well-rounded. I got your back. So if you need help, please reach out, chat to me. You can reach me on LinkedIn. You can just Google my name. It'll pop up. But alternatively, you can also contact us via email. So it's shuaib@bakerbains.com. Or a really cool thing here is if there's any topics that you're struggling with, like as a designer in civil infrastructure, something that you can't get around, something that's taking you too much of time, frustrating you, drop me an email. And then if it's a good topic and it's something that we get a lot, I will actually cover it in a webinar to help you actually design much more better. And then, of course, this webinar and all of our webinars are uploaded to our YouTube channel. So all of my civil infrastructure webinars, all of our architecture process plan, all of that is on our webinar channel on YouTube, right? So just you can again just type in Baker Bains on YouTube, subscribe to it. It's a good learning platform where you can learn a lot of stuff, and yeah, hopefully we'll help you design and make a better world together, right? So I think that's a wrap for today. Thank you very much for myself, Shay Venus. Hope you have an awesome Friday, a great 2020, and yeah, I'm hoping to see you for our next webinar. So thank you and have a great day. All right.